Okay, so here we're going to talk about higher order derivatives of sine and cosine. What does that mean? Remember, higher order derivatives are just that we can keep taking the derivative of something, and sometimes that'll, like if it's a polynomial, then eventually it'll go to zero. But if it's a trig function, that won't exactly happen. So let's look at that. So if I have y equals sine of x, I want you to find the 105th derivative of that function. Please don't find the first 104 derivatives, but I want you to try to find the 105th. Pause the video, unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, so we should end up with cosine of x. How do we come up with that without doing all of the other derivatives? Well, you can see just below you, we'll see this on the next page, that the derivative of sine is going to repeat itself every 4 derivatives. It's very similar to powers of I. Remember, I to the first, I squared is negative negative 1, I cubed is negative I to the fourth is 1, I to the fifth is I again. And so it repeats. So the same thing's going to happen here. So all I did was I said, okay, well, if I'm looking for the 105th derivative, I can divide that by 4, and I get 26.25. So that means that it's going to go through a cycle of 4 derivatives 26 times, and I'm left with 1 over. So then that means the 105th derivative is going to be the same as the first derivative. Again, just to see a little bit more of exactly what I'm talking about, if we look here on the next slide, okay, if y equals sine of x, the first derivative is cosine of x, the second derivative is negative sine of x, the third derivative would be negative cosine of x, the fourth derivative is back to sine of x. So then the fifth derivative is going to be the same as the first derivative. And that pattern is going to continue to repeat. So it's just something to recognize in terms of trig functions, and especially sine and cosine are going to have a really nice pattern like that. Some of the other ones, it's not going to be quite as nice because their derivatives aren't quite as simple as just the derivative of sine is cosine, the derivative of cosine is negative sine. But they are still going to continue to change, so it won't go to zero.